Let's see what we got here. Simon in the assembled confessional collective. Seeking forgiveness for a childlike prank that caused consternation, a little pain, trauma and frivolity. To some, I think there's a PG on this, maybe borderline 12. It was the late summer of 2003. The club cricket season was done and dusted. We're all looking forward to the end-of-season tour to Guernsey, a highlight of the season. Tour organiser was Captain Mark, a former army man who organised everything like a military operation. Manchester Airport, 08:30, check-in. 08:45, breakfast. 9 o'clock, pre-flight drinks. You actually don't need those. Flight to Guernsey, 10:30, and so on. It was during the pre-flight drink section that we broke the ice with some of our party who were coming on the tour as guests or friends. One particular individual was Andrew, a tall, thin, humourless individual who, it happened, was Captain Mark's accountant.
Right.
He informed us he didn't like flying as he suffered from claustrophobia. However, we reassured him after a few pints at 9 o'clock in the morning.
Goodness me.
Of amber nectar, he'd be all right. So we took off on the flight, GR440, out of the dank, slate-grey skies of Manchester and headed south. The plane was noisy, cramped. It was a turboprop carrying around 40 or 50 passengers. I found myself sitting right at the back of the cabin, directly across the aisle from the only toilet. This I thought was very convenient from a personal perspective, but as the seatbelt signs were switched off, a steady flow of people began to come and relieve themselves, culminating with a steady sound of the toilet door slamming and the lock engaging. I realised by this point that any chance of a snooze was out of the question, so I bought a coffee from the very pleasant cabin crew lady, who I think was called Mandy. Anyway, with my coffee came a plastic spatula to stir my drink, and I've often mused about why there is a small bauble on the end of a spatula. It seems so pointless. Anyway, as my curiosity grew, I realised that the bauble was an exact fit in the slot of the toilet door lock a couple of feet to my right, presumably used to extract passengers who were unable to extract themselves from the loo. And so the seatbelt signs were illuminated as we approached Guernsey, and the cabin crew lady, called Mandy, quickly cleaned away all the used cups and bottles. It was at this point Andrew decided he could not wait any longer. There's always one. He shuffled up the aisle and stooped his tall frame into the small cubicle, and I thought this was my best chance to play a silly game. With Andrew safely ensconced in the toilet, I used my spatula to open the lock from the outside. However, with the reactions of a Western gunslinger, he relocked the door. But he relocked it with such force that he severed the bauble from the end of the spatula. So that was that, or so I thought. Andrew finished whatever he was doing and attempted to open the door to leave, but couldn't, as the lock was jammed shut. The bauble must have fallen into the lock and jammed the mechanism. The cabin crew lady, called Mandy, was alerted, and she came striding down the aisle with a "I've seen this all before" expression on her face. She fumbled in her apron pocket and produced the toilet door release key, but try as she might, she couldn't shift the lock, to the dismay of Andrew, who was now sounding rather anxious. The cabin crew lady, called Mandy, then disappeared to the front of the plane to alert the captain, called Brian, and a few moments later she and the captain, called Brian, emerged in the aisle. He was a large, rotund man with a white bushy beard and a flat, peaked cap. Reminded me of Captain Birdseye, to be honest. Right. Unnecessary detail grabber, yes. But anyway. He tried to open the lock with the key, but couldn't. This is at the point that I heard the captain mutter to the cabin crew lady, called Mandy, that we were now in a holding pattern around Guernsey with not a whole lot of fuel left, and under no circumstances could we land with someone marooned in the toilet. After failing to open the door with the key, Captain Birdseye produced a Swiss Army-type knife from his pocket and selected the longest blade. He slid this between the door and the frame with his right hand, whilst holding the frame with his left to try and prise the lock open. You might be ahead of me. He applied so much force that the blade snapped, causing him to gash his own left hand with the jagged blade in the process. It's the captain, and his hand is cut.
Oh, no.
With the captain's left hand now bound in a white handkerchief, we decided to take matters into our own hands. Yes, we did. And 4 of our party managed to separate the door from the frame far enough to release the door and an ashen-faced, profusely sweating Andrew, who stumbled out to great applause from the rest of the passengers. The flight managed to land safely in Guernsey, and we were met at the gate by some official-looking people who were apparently air traffic controllers, meeting some colleagues on the flight. I heard them talking about the drama they had witnessed from the control tower. However, Andrew's day wasn't over. At dinner that evening, he was fined £10 by the Tour Fines Committee for behaviour likely to bring ridicule and embarrassment to the tour, apart from drinking 4 pints at 9 in the morning. So after many years... So here goes Grabber. So after many years of self-reflection, I seek forgiveness for the trauma caused to Andrew and hope he can fly with confidence in the future. The cut. I also need apologies. I need to ask forgiveness for the cut on Captain Birdseye's hand and the broken toilet door lock, all the unintended consequences of a coffee cup spatula. Signed, Grabber, head boy and captain of everything. Well, let's check in with Sister Susie, the voice of authority and responsibility on the programme.
Well, I'm just disappointed, Grabber, and I'm not surprised Andrew was anxious. The plane toilets are tiny. I wouldn't want to get stuck in one either, so I'm sorry, I can't forgive you.
Yeah, Grabber hasn't behaved very well here, I think, but let's see what...
Who's flying the plane? If the captain's at the back with the toilet door, who's flying the plane? That's right, I thought we were on the ground. Well, obviously.
Auto.
Put it on auto. Stick it on auto. I mean, right, no one told Andrew to drink all those drinks, did they? No one forced him to drink. So if you drink all the drinks and you need to go to the loo, guess what's going to happen? Doors to manual, everyone. I am going to say forgiven.